Last Tuesday morning, your boss pinged you on Slack. 3 sentences, casual, friendly. Hey, no pressure, just keep me posted. Sync with me whenever. I want to stay in the loop. In that moment, you actually felt good about it. He is not micromanaging. He is giving you space. He just wants to stay informed. But notice this. From that moment on, you're not really working anymore. You're performing your work in real time for an audience of 1. Every Slack status, every calendar block, every commit message, every just circling back email, none of it is for the work itself anymore. It is all evidence that you're still doing what you said you'd do. Today, we're breaking down the most modern and most invisible form of surveillance. In the American workplace, it is called the transparency trap. Let me start with the research. Harvard Business School professor Ethan Bernstein ran a famous experiment on factory workers comparing 2 groups doing the same job. One group was watched, every move logged, every metric visible to management. The other group was given a curtain, literally blocking the manager's view. The group behind the curtain outperformed the watched group by 10 to 15%. Bernstein called this the transparency paradox. The more visible workers are made, the worse they actually perform, because they stop solving problems and start managing how they look. Microsoft's Work Trend Index calls this productivity theater, workers spending up to 2 hours a day producing visible signs of working, instead of doing the work itself. Now I'm going to break down how the sentence, "just keep me posted," through 5 stages, turns a trusted employee into a self-monitoring instrument. That spends half their day proving they exist, and the other half resenting it. If you start to feel it sounds familiar by stage 3, stop and think about it. That is not a coincidence. Stage 1, openness gets reframed as access. The first sentence, "I have an open door policy," or "My DMs are always open," or "just ping me anytime." This sounds like generosity. It sounds like a leader removing barriers. But notice the direction of the door. A truly open door swings both ways. You can walk in, but you can also close it. A boss's open door only opens in one direction. His access to you? Sociologist Irving Goffman wrote about this in his work on presentation of self. He distinguished between front stage, where you perform, and backstage, where you actually live. What always available really means is that you no longer have a backstage. Every moment of your workday becomes front stage, a performance for an invisible audience. And once the backstage is gone, the next move becomes possible, filling that exposed space with ambient surveillance. Stage 2, the check-ins get ritualized. The second sentence, "Let's just do a quick daily stand-up." Or, "Can you send me an end-of-day update?" Or, "Let's set up a weekly one-on-one." Each one of these individually sounds reasonable. Stand-ups are agile. End-of-day updates are accountable. One-on-ones are coaching. But stack them on top of each other and look at the total time. A 15-minute stand-up, a 30-minute EOD write-up, a 45-minute weekly sync. That is 4 to 5 hours a week, just reporting that you did work, not doing it. This is what anthropologist David Graeber called bullshit jobs, tasks whose purpose isn't to produce anything, but to demonstrate visibly that someone is being productive. The check-in itself doesn't help you finish the work. It helps your boss feel that the work is being finished, which is a different thing. Stage 3, the surveillance gets internalized. The third moment isn't a sentence. It is a feeling. You're working on something focused and you suddenly stop. You open Slack and update your status to "Deep work will respond at 3." You weren't asked to, no one's checking, but you did it anyway. Why? Because at this stage, the watching has moved inside your own head. French philosopher Michel Foucault wrote about a prison design called the Panopticon. a circular prison with one guard tower in the middle. The prisoners can't see whether anyone's actually in the tower. But because they might be watched at any moment, they behave as if they always are. Foucault's point was the highest form of surveillance doesn't require a watcher. It requires you to imagine the watcher. That Slack status update you sent for no reason. That is the Panopticon working perfectly. Your boss didn't have to ask. You're already watching yourself on his behalf. Stage 4. The visibility becomes the work. The fourth sentence shows up in your own mouth, not his. You catch yourself saying, I just wanted to make sure you saw this, or just to keep you in the loop, or wanted to flag this proactively. You're sending updates that don't need to be sent. CCing him on emails he doesn't need to read. Forwarding things for visibility. Notice what is happening. The work itself is no longer the goal. The goal is to produce a visible trail that documents the work. Cal Newport calls this performative busyness, and he has identified it as one of the leading causes of knowledge worker burnout, because there is no end to it. You can always be more visible, more responsive, more proactively flagging. The metric is unbounded, and unbounded metrics are how people break. Stage 5. The trust gets inverted. The fifth sentence is the one that reveals the whole game. After months of constant updates, perfect responsiveness, full transparency. You ask for one day off, or you take 45 minutes to respond to a Slack message. And he says, hey, is everything okay? You've been kind of quiet today. Stop and read that sentence again. After all the updates, all the stand-ups, all the just keeping you posted, the default state when you are silent for 45 minutes is suspicion. This is the invert of how trust is supposed to work. Real trust is, I don't need you to prove you're working. I trust you are. What you have is the opposite. The only way I trust you is if you're constantly proving it. Sociologist Niklas Luhmann distinguished between trust and confidence. Trust accepts uncertainty. Confidence demands monitoring. What your boss calls trust is actually confidence. And confidence collapses the moment the monitoring stops. At this point, you might ask, are they doing this intentionally? My answer is, in most cases, no, it is not intentional. But the effect is the same. Because the transparency trap isn't the choice of one paranoid manager. It is the operating system of remote and hybrid work itself. When managers can't physically see you working, they get anxious. And the cheapest way to soothe that anxiety isn't to build trust. It is to demand visibility, constant, real-time, asynchronous visibility. A manager who sees your Slack status doesn't actually know you're working. But seeing the green dot makes him feel like he does. And as long as his anxiety is being managed, he doesn't ask whether yours is. You're not being watched because you can't be trusted. You're being watched because watching you is the cheapest way to manage his fear. So you have to understand this. Transparency isn't trust's friend. At a certain density, it becomes trust's replacement. Recognizing this mechanism isn't about going dark on your team. It is about taking back the right to have a backstage. 3 signals to check whether you're caught in the transparency trap. First, do you spend more time reporting your work than doing it? Second, when you go silent for an hour, does part of you brace? For someone to ask if you're okay? Third, in your last performance review, were you praised for communication? Or responsiveness, more than for the actual quality of your output? If 2 out of 3 apply, you're already inside the trap. The first step to breaking it isn't to stop communicating. It is a very simple sentence. The next time he says, just keep me posted on everything, you say back calmly, happy to, can we agree on what counts as a real update? So I'm not interrupting you or myself with everything. That single sentence reintroduces the boundary between performance and work. And the moment the boundary comes back, the trap stops working. Next episode, we're breaking down a deeper mechanism. Your boss closes the door and says, "Let me be honest with you, I'm struggling too." It sounds like vulnerability. It sounds like trust. It is neither. The tactic is called emotional outsourcing. If someone you know is also stuck in the stage I described, share this video with them. Drop a comment, tell me which stage started sounding familiar. See you next time.